So now we are ready to practice, to learn how we use mechanisms. And for this, we can use template 3B. So basically, we start with any element or dimension. So as an element, we could start with general attribute. For example, a general attribute of a human being, which could be worth or belonging or existing and so on. So against this general attribute, we may use supporting mechanisms, and you can look at the list under supporting mechanisms to choose a mechanism that you may be using. So that would be at level 1. So you could use a mechanism that accepts or that believes or owns. So basically, you would be saying by using these mechanisms, I am worthy, or you could say, I have worth, or I belong, etc. So the experience would be positive because you would fully experience worth or belonging, but also it would be an experience at level 1 that is harmonious because your attribute would not be fought against, there would be no conflict, it would be fully accepted with no opposition. So examine this and describe yourself how it would feel at that level of supporting an attribute. Now, for level 2, you could see that instead of supporting, you may be opposing this general attribute. So you may doubt it, you may refuse it, you may disbelieve, etc. And if you have some difficulties finding the proper mechanism that you may be using, you could go under a list, opposing mechanisms. And doing this would be basically saying, I am not worthy, or I doubt I have worth, or I don't believe I have worth. I do not have worth or belonging, etc. And then you may want to observe this and see how it feels. Surely it's a negative experience, and the more the general attribute is opposed, the more negative it is, but it's also an internal psychological fight of conflict, which adds to the discomfort and to the negativity of the experience. So that is all very difficult, and to cope with this or to compensate, one may make the whole thing unconscious and not see how it affects oneself. Or if it brings discomfort at the physical level, one might just compensate by overeating, with alcohol also, taking alcohol, or over-exercising and so on. So to make the experience that is very negative a bit less negative. Or psychologically, one might compensate by adding another mechanism over the opposing mechanism, maybe saying that I am not worthy, but by just adding a condition, I will be if. So that's the mechanism of condition. That's an example. And then set all sorts of conditions to feel worthy or to belong. One might also add mechanisms that projects on other people the discomfort or the reason for feeling unworthy or belonging or not belonging. So it could be using a projection as a mechanism or blaming others. So that would mean, for example, I am not worthy, and it's because of them, and so because of others, and get into an external conflict. They are responsible, etc. And that would also make it a bit more bearable, but still very conflictual, and overall a very negative experience. So you could go through this exercise by using the template, and surely you would see over time that level 1 of supporting is conducive to happiness. Level 2 is not conducive, and maybe level 3 may be non-conducive, but a bit less so. Remember that at level 2 and 3, it may be so unbearable that the whole thing is made unconscious. And at level 3, we're not very aware of what we do, but all we know is that we don't feel well, and we may be in conflict with others, for example.